the topic today, ultimately, it is about consistency. That's really not like cool. It's not sexy. What it really is about is how to stop failing. I know people at the top of their game who still feel like they're failing. And it ultimately has to do with what we're going to talk about today. And we are going to wrap up with the last piece of the puzzle. But you guys, the first thing is that so many people who get into real estate do not have a framework to work off of. Guys, does an architect just start to build a building without drawings and framework and measurements and plans and expectations of what the end product will look like and expectations of what the process is going to look like and that it's going to be hard and there will be problems? No, they don't. And we do that in real estate 99% of the time. That's why there is a 1% at the top. And the gap between that 99 and that 1% is huge because we're not special at the top. We're not special. We understand that we need framework because the framework brings focus. And so I want to show you this framework that has changed my life and the lives of the people who have worked off of this as well. The biggest thing that I see for people in real estate is that when they first start out, they think that they're going to be a business owner. But here's the biggest secret on the face of the planet. You're not an employee, but employees trade time for money. Guess what? A business owner does not trade time for money anymore. If you are not at a place where you can leave and your business and you are still going to make money, you are not a business owner yet. And don't be discouraged by that. Becoming that is going to require you to step outside of your comfort zone like you never have before. It's going to require you to build skill sets and flex muscles of your mind and your heart and soul that you've never flexed before. That's like why some people make it and some people don't. And we want you to make it. So that's why we're here to learn how to win. So you're going to have to get outside of your comfort zone to actually get to that place. So here's what we have to do. We have to learn how to be self-employed. Can I ask you a hard question? And I wasn't even planning on asking this, but it popped in my head. If you were the owner of a business, would you hire yourself? Would you hire you right now with your work ethic and your focus and your skill set to come work for you if you own a real estate company? Okay, I am not here to pinprick you or let the air out of your sails. I'm here to help you become aware of what you need so that you can go freaking break through to the next level. Would you hire you? Would you depend on you? Would you be consistent? We are self-employed. When we first come into real estate, we're still trading time for money. But now, instead of being a teeny tiny cog in someone else's wheel, we are the whole ecosystem. We are the foundation. And let me tell you something. I'm going to switch over to our other one. This is what I have found. I did not invent this. Okay, well, I actually did invent this, but I invented it after having hundreds of conversations and coaching calls one-on-one with agents. Some were the tip top of the entire industry, even doing more transactions than myself. But they saw that I had something they needed, like a system or people, or sleep or rest or taking time off with my family that they could not have, pushing 150 deals a year, but literally are working off an Excel spreadsheet. Like what? So I invented this, yes, but it came from me having the exact same conversations with agents 97% of the time when they would come to me for help. It was about leads, systems, value, conversion, or consistency. And today we're going to talk about consistency. But this is what being great at being self-employed looks like. These are the 5 skill sets you need to have. And now everyone can say, yes, but you also need to have this. You also need to have that. This is the bare minimum of what you need to have to be successful being a self-employed person in real estate. And so today we're going to conquer consistency and really dig into that and understand what that means. Now, guys, here's the thing. A wheel over on its side isn't going to go anywhere. So let me tell you something. You can have leads, you can have systems and value add. All of that is worthless if you don't have the ability to convert a client. And then you being the person that is pushing the wheel down the road, that's you, okay? In the beginning, right? It is you. And you must do that with consistency. You must do it when you are tired. Now, look, here's the thing. I don't want you to never talk to your spouse again. I don't want you to never hang out with your kids again. But let me just tell you something. If you're really good at conversion and you have a great value add and you really have good systems, you can still have a life and be really great at a real estate agent on your own. I've done it. Trust me though, I did it the wrong way twice before I figured out this formula. So consistency. So how do we become consistent? Okay. The first thing is work off of a framework. Framework brings focus. Do you have a framework? If you don't, use mine. Okay. Use that wheel of success. You have to have a framework. Why? You are going to have education burnout if you do not have a framework. You can go learn the coolest sales script ever, but that one sales script without consistency and without leads is nothing. And what if you have consistency and leads and the best sales script on the planet, but you have no systems? 2 years from now, you will be working like a dog with one foot in the grave. I have done that. We won't get into my personal story today, but I have done that. Everything in my life is falling apart. I was falling apart, but I had all the money in the world. Okay, because I did not know how to have systems and how to train other people. Okay, so framework brings focus. Work off of a framework. That is number one. Number two, and I used to, if you are my same personality type, which maybe some of you are, I am what is called a high choleric. I'm a high D. I want the goods. I want them now. I want it fast. I want to learn and then go, 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 go. That's a fine personality type, but my biggest challenge was I just wanted to do all the things. I didn't want to work on my mindset. And what happened is my business needed me to grow as a person, and I didn't work on my mindset. So by the time I was making $500,000 or more and owning cash flowing real estate assets, the person that I was not congruent with the money that I was making, and I didn't know how to manage it. And I still felt small and like I wasn't doing anything right and that I sucked. Okay. And I'm in Texas. So our price point was like nothing like the Californians and the New York people. So down here, that's equivalent to like $1 million on the West Coast, East Coast a year, GCI. My mindset, I did not take time to work on it. And it was because I felt like if I took time to work on it, I was admitting that I needed help. And asking for help was always hard for me because it made me feel vulnerable. And I don't like to feel vulnerable. It's part of my personality type. And so you've got to work on your mindset. So I want to give you some tricks for how to do that. And you also need to take this seriously because you don't want to end up living like managing people and managing money and managing stress and managing your business in a way that is harmful to you or the people around you because you didn't take the time to grow yourself to be congruent with what the market was paying you, what you're worth. So how do we do that? The first thing is people. So I'm an older millennial, but I really feel I can call my generation out. Like we have a really hard time valuing true connection. I'm hoping the other generations are not like that, although my little sister is Gen Z and oh dear God. It's a whole different story, right? But we need to be around people. And some generations have a really hard time valuing true connection because we're always wanting to put up our highlight reel for the whole world to see, which is really pretty selfish. I'm calling us out here. But we have to be around people, not just that encourage us, but people that push us and that challenge us and encourage us. Okay. And we need to be like, for probably the first, my husband's sitting over here. How many years was it that we felt so lonely? 7. Literally just the last 3 years of my career. I had 10 years on Friday. Woo, woo. Okay. For like 7 years, we felt so alone. Because our circle was people who either had been handed down businesses from their parents, which is beautiful, and we want to do that for our kid too, but it's different than building one from the ground up, or people who were 9-to-5ers. And they weren't necessarily mean to us, but when your whole life is business and everyone that is surrounding you doesn't get it, and their eyes like glaze over, oh, when you start to talk about your struggles of having a family and children and all these things, you need to align yourself with other human beings in person, not just Zoom. I'm glad you're here. I'm honored by it. I'm grateful for it, but also in-person stuff. I mean, yes, I want you to come to JPAR stuff. Y'all, I went to the JPAR stuff this year and it totally touched my heart and changed my life. And it was freaking awesome. So yes, come to the JPAR stuff, but also just find people that I don't care if it's even in real estate, it could be real estate, right? But just other business owners who get you. Find those people, build a tribe, and surround yourself with people who can listen to you. You can share ideas and find a tribe. It's critical because you've got to have those people there, all right, to build you up and sometimes like smack you around a little bit, right? And tell you that you can do it and toughen up. So the next thing is like places too. So go find networking events or whatever it is that are really fulfilling to you. And guys, here's another thing that is so big for me. I have openly shared, I was one of the speakers at JPAR Nation Celebration last year, about my lifelong battle with anxiety and depression from childhood trauma. It will always, I mean, I don't want to speak this over myself, but it might always be there. I have to fight with it. And one of the things that really helps jolt me out of that is, what are my eyes seeing? Am I taking in positive things? Am I reading positive things? Am I listening to positive things? I mean, you know that eyes, ears, mouth thing, right? Am I saying positive things? Am I saying positive things to myself? This all is mindset stuff. So watch that. How's your self-talk? I know that sounds crazy. We're not going to go too guru-y here, but it's true that what you tell yourself, because what you believe is what you be living. And you have got to talk to yourself like you freaking matter. What really changed for me was, would I ever talk to my son the way that I talk to myself? And I was like, wow, no, I wouldn't, because I like talk to myself sometimes so hateful about whether my weight gain or this or whatever that I've experienced the past 2 years. Okay. And so I had to snap out of that. What are you telling yourself? What's your self-talk like? Check in, be aware, and work on it. Self-awareness is a huge, huge thing. I have a whole session on that. I think it was 3 parts we did earlier this year. And have a learning mindset always. I have done this for 10 years. I learned something new just last week and the week before. Like always, 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 always be humble enough to learn and be gracious enough to share what you know. Okay, just a little like bonus out there. Number 3, okay, because the first one was framework, brings focus. Number 2 is mindset. We talked about people, places, eyes, ears, mouth, mindset, self-awareness, have a learning mindset. Number 3 is time blocking. I actually don't believe in time blocking. I believe in life blocking. I will be doing a series on that next week. Real estate is a reactive business. And so many people time block crazy too much, just like I did in the beginning when I first started time blocking. And you can time block yourself into the oblivion of feeling like a total failure all the time. All right. And so, but you at least need to have a schedule and a calendar. And that sounds so basic. Some of you are like, girl, you insulting me. I've been doing this since I was 5. You will be shocked. Half the personalities out there value that, half don't. And because they don't, like, they don't do it. And it is just astounding to me because it doesn't actually tie you down to anything. Time blocking does not tie you down. It actually gives you freedom because it is the living embodiment of you practicing working from a framework in a schedule every day. Boom. Okay. So it's really important. So that was number 3. Number 4 is, this one is a big one for me. And this is really a big part of what I talked about at JPAR Nation Celebration, is that the story that you tell yourself when you feel like an imposter, or when you feel like a failure, or when you feel like looking around and everybody else has it, whatever the heck it is, and you don't have it, and you're not where you want to be. It can be so frustrating. And with real estate, I feel like that feeling can be really elongated. And I want to give you some comfort today, because the reason that feeling feels elongated is because you are in a business where it is one of the largest decisions that anyone makes in their entire life. So they don't make it frequently. Like, I decide to buy products off of Facebook frequently. My husband goes, he's in over the corner. Usually cheap stuff like Temu and stuff. Okay, but I digress. Those are quick, easy, cheap sales. You are in a business where literally one of our sales last week and another one that got under contract last week, no, it was the week before, 2 weeks ago, one of our closings and one of our new contracts from last week was a 3.5 year long process. And that's not even the longest one. And so that's like, there's been some that have been 5 and 6 years. So do not beat yourself up. You have to stay consistent longer. That's it. But guess what? Your paydays are bigger. because you're not making $20 off selling a t-shirt. Stay consistent. Here's the big thing. During those times that you are trying to be unwavering with consistency, every single day, you have got to start aligning the story that you tell yourself with the person that you want to become. I'm going to say that one more time. Every single day, the story that you tell yourself needs to begin to align more and more with the person that you want to become. This is so critical. If you want to be better, if you want to do better, if you want to up your skill set, if you want to have clients that stay with you for long term, if you want to get referrals, all of this starts to happen at a much more aggressive pace when you become who you need to become, not just do what you need to do, right? Sometimes you just need to do what you need to do. But you need to become who. I always say you focus on the who you want to become first instead of just what to do. Because if the story that you tell yourself is not aligning with who you want to become, or the actions that you're taking from the bad story that you're telling yourself, and when I say story, nobody has asked a question yet. I'm talking a lot about self-talk. I had a lot of stuff in my past that made me have a horrible narrative on my life. A dark, ugly cloud that took me years to break free from. And that little girl was so broken, lived with me, right? Until I was about 30, and I'm 35, 32 really, before I was able to start separating myself from all of these bad things and telling myself a new story. I'm not that person. And so we need to make sure that our self-talk, even if you don't believe it yet, still tell it to yourself, right? And then take actions that reinforce the person that you want to become. Like this morning, I wanted to eat something bad, but I had a health shake instead. So the person I want to become is somebody who is way less heavy than I am right now. So I've got to make those choices. That's consistency. And I have to make those choices consistently or ain't nothing going to change. Last thing, this is incredible. I'm going to give you a word picture. And I'm going to tell you this one last thing about consistency. If you didn't get number 4 in a sentence, I'm going to read it one more time. Align the story that you tell yourself with who you want to become, and then take actions that start to reinforce that identity that you want. Number 5, have you ever heard the expression seeing is believing? And God told me to say this today. I don't know, like, even if you don't believe in God, that's okay. I have friends from all walks of life. You don't have to think like me or worship like I worship for us to be friends and for us to connect over this. This is a really cool idea. But God told me to share this today. So many people, and I see this so much with agents, and it just like hurts my heart. And I have to explain this to you because I don't want this to be you. We have to see to believe something first, but we are in a business that requires that we believe that there can be positive, good outcome before we see it. If you're at the beginning of your career right now, I've got confidence. You put me on the phone with somebody, I'm going to convert that person. But y'all, my heart would beat out my chest. I'd want to vomit. And I hated prospecting for 12 hours a day when I first got into this business. I actually still hate prospecting 12 hours a day, but now I know I'm going to get results from it. In the beginning, I learned things the hard way, and I did everything the hard way. But we have to be able to expect a favorable outcome before we see the results. And I am telling you that there is so much power in just trying one more time, waking up every day saying, I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to do one more phone call today than I did yesterday. And then tomorrow I'm going to do one more phone call than I did the day before, and just keep allowing it to build on itself. Because here's a word picture I'm going to give you. I thought this was freaking awesome. I did not know this until today. I am kind of a science person. I like to read geeky things. Did you know that a space shuttle uses 90% of its fuel and energy just to get out of the atmosphere? 90%. And then right before it gets out of the atmosphere, we've all seen the movies, everybody's bouncing around, things are crazy. And then all of a sudden you hit orbit, okay, which I'm trying to remember. I think it's the escape velocity. And all of a sudden you're in orbit. That's a little bit how success works. Actually, that's totally how success works. You're going to use up 90% of your grit, 90% of your stamina, 90% to lay these foundations, to be freaking consistent, your energy, your time. But once you hit where you have put in that consistency and you have been that rocket, and you, right before you think you're going to fall apart, stay consistent, stay the course, dig deep, and you're going to hit this momentum with your success like so many people have at the top, y'all. I do not have to prospect nearly as much as I did, like for the last 2 years. I hardly have to make any phone calls, to be perfectly honest, because I have repeat clients and so many referrals. But the seeds that I sowed have turned into a harvest that took me 7 or 8 years, but it is so, so, so worth it. So be willing to put in the time and the energy and the effort now, lay those foundations, work off of a framework so that you can hit that escape velocity and get into orbit and have that success momentum. Because once you're into orbit, guess what happens to the rocket ship? It's like crazy. I was so excited. You orbit the Earth and you use zero fuel, right? That rocket uses zero fuel once it gets in Earth's orbit. And that's how success works. You have to work hard. You have to bust tail. But once you know and you've been there and you put in the hard work, it can launch you to places you've never been, right? What you needed was to get out of that place that you were doing things, learning things. Maybe you're doing things the wrong way. You had to learn things, right? But now you're away from that place and you're in this whole other realm, essentially. And that is where you can be if you apply these principles. So thanks for joining me today. Let's win and have a wonderful Wednesday. Bye-bye.